Thanks for tuning in to more NASCAR talk on Prime Sports NASCAR as we are down another playoff race. And I'm glad Las Vegas is in our rear view after that snooze fest. Eric Smith and CJ Woodou joining us once again. Eric from racereviewonline.net. How is the website going? You keeping busy?
Good. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had a lot of IndyCar stuff last week, and so now back these
That's
final,
right. The IndyCar
6
season's
races.
over. Yes.
Yeah. So that wasn't necessarily a great race either, but at least it had some championship implications. You had Ed Jones punting a guy going for the points the first lap. Past that, it was just kind of and the Colton Herta made it interesting, and then I got all done and turned into Vegas, and looks pretty predictable from here. So that's Vegas and mile and a half track with this package for you.
That's true. And CJ, you know, how's things going? Because you're also paying attention to not just the Cup Series, but everything else going on in NASCAR. So what's the latest outside the Cup Series?
Well, we've had some surprise winners actually in the Truck Series, to be honest with you. So some unique ones. Chandler Smith got a win. Just kind of getting through the playoffs. We've had some excitement. Bristol, I think, was really the pinnacle for both those series. You know, having the last lap, really kind of excitement for both series. That was really the pinnacle. Las Vegas, kind of.
Who's that? Barry?
Okay.
I was like, what's that guy's name? Barry.
Josh Berry.
So what's that? So he's a part-time driver that will be full-time next year.
Part-time driver coming up to JR Motorsports next year. Yeah, he got he came out of the gates really strongly, very early with JR Motorsports. So it was just a matter of getting him in the right equipment. Same thing, similar with Ty Gibbs coming into the series. I mean, he's only a part-time driver. He's won multiple races. He's certainly got future superstar written all over him. But getting those guys in the right equipment, that number 54 car in the Xfinity Series, extremely strong. I think some excitement for anybody watching the Truck Series is just continued improvement from Hailie Deegan. I think she's a really exciting driver who's continued to progress throughout the year. A couple guys still fighting for wins that are traditional front runners like Matt Crafton. And Barry was the substitute for Michael Annett. Annett hadn't won either. So to have that happen, it just proves you got to get the right people and the right equipment and let them do their thing.
So I was catching up on my football, because I have the Game Pass, and so I'm catching up, and I have so I'm watching. I'm also working, and I've got because the race obviously was late last week, so I've got the race on the TV over there, and I have the mute on, and I'm just I peek over and I'm going to wait until it's getting real serious before I put the volume on and focus. And I'm looking and I go, okay, so there's end of the second stage, and I see Kyle Larson pitting and Blaney. I go, okay, I guess they're going to do that strategy where they're going to pit before, and we'll see how that works out. So then all of a sudden, like about, I don't know, 5 minutes later, I turn around and I'm like, why isn't Kyle Larson restarting first? I thought he pitted early. And then I stopped everything and I turned the volume on and I went, I'm not hearing anything. So I rewound it. Nobody's explaining anything to me. Like, what? He pitted early. So why is he a lap down? I didn't understand that. What happened to Kyle Larson? And I think Blaney was in the same situation. A couple of the guys were in the same situation where they pitted early with 6 laps to go in the stage. How come they were a lap down? I thought the whole idea to pit early was so you can, all right, I mean, I don't care about the stage points, but I'm going to come out first. I don't understand what happened.
It ended up being, it's actually when I started tuning in too. It was like, what happened? Because I got done all my IndyCar stuff. I'm like, all right, what's going on? What happened to Larson? Because I had the timing and scoring up, and Hendrick 1, 2, 3, 5 or something like that. They were dominating. Yeah. And what happened was the first stage, everybody pit. And the second stage, towards the beginning, there was a caution. And the Hendrick guys thought, we could pit here, and we can make it to the end. I think just a little bit of help. There's going to be another caution. But when that other caution comes, everybody else will pit, and we're going to cycle back to the lead. Well, here's the kicker. There was caution car, truck, something on the track, like a cleanup truck, that died, and they had to tow it off the track.
When was this?
So it extended. This was during that caution.
Early
so
in
it
the
was
second
an extended
stage.
caution. Yeah, and it gave the cars that didn't pit enough time to run the whole stage without having to pit again. So the Hendrick guys are basically screwed because there wasn't another yellow until
so somebody for NASCAR, the safety truck,
like battery, something died on the track.
wrong with the battery on the truck, and it
maybe even leaking oil, something like that. Like it died, oil leak. So not only did you have to tow it off, you had to clean the oil. It just so instead of going back green, it was an extended caution. You got the car, whatever reason caused the caution, you got that mess cleaned up, and then you had a NASCAR vehicle that was leaking oil and died, and you had to tow
that is so NASCAR right now. That is unbelievable.
It's bad luck for Hendrick.
Now were you listening before that, CJ?
I don't think it was bad. I don't think that was bad luck. That was a blown call.
You mean they should have just kept going? You're saying?
No, they should have. They should have pitted. Every other team pitted except the Hendrick cars. So then there were no other cautions the rest of the race. So everybody was good to go. Every single Hendrick car had to stop, or all those Hendrick cars, I should say, had to stop an extra time.
So why did they?
Everybody.
What was the decision in their head? They were just gambling then at that point that there was going to be a caution?
They were banking on the fact that caution was early and that there would be another caution later in the race and they'd be able to get back on.
That's just ridiculous.
That's it is. It was a total blown call. It was not bad luck. It was total blown call.
Wow.
They should have pitted. Everybody else did except them.
That's just that. See, those are the things that we talk about with your team, and it's not so easy. Man, you were talking about putting all your money on Larson last week. These are the reason why you don't do that, and why you can't. Because all these different weird variations happen that you don't even think about that have no impact. Because if that does not happen, we don't know who would have been better at the end, but we clearly knew Larson and Hamlin were the two best. We have no idea what would have happened late in the race, who would have been better. But the fact that happened, that was crazy. I mean,
yeah, they went aggressive. It was one of those that if they would have, I don't know why you wouldn't, because you're already the best cars in the field at that point. I'm not sure what the end game was for them other than we're going to run 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if the caution car doesn't happen, then you might have got the other cars might have had to pit. That gave them the extra lap, so they didn't have to come back in. It was just a perfect storm where it's like I don't know if maybe because of Larson's so far up, they could take the gamble and not have to worry where the other ones just followed suit. It seemed like it had to have been a plan and discussed the fact that all 4 of them stayed out. And then you get the flat tires by Bowman and Byron, the 2 who couldn't afford something like that happened. And then it just compounded from there. It kind of handed the win. Yeah. I mean, Elliott came back.
Elliott did. They had, I think, to the perfect storm comment is exactly right, because it was only 1 extra lap of caution. So if they would have known and been able to see in advance enough to know that everybody else in the field was coming into pit, I'm sure they would have come in. But the fact that it was only 1 lap that they got that extra caution lap, they didn't have any other chance. So they got locked out right away. And it was a bad call. I think in NASCAR specifically, on any early yellow, you've got to take the opportunity to pit. You never know when it's going to come down to a fuel race. You never know, 4 fresh tires, track position, etc. I think you've got to take advantage of it every single time early in the race. Later on, throw caution to the wind, take your gambles, deal with track position. But early on, you got to be coming in every time.
It made me realize too, that's like, I thought all along, like, hey, qualifying, it doesn't mean anything. But now it kind of made me realize if we qualified all year, like Kyle Larson, clearly, like we know that's the fastest car out there. I mean, we knew, but he couldn't drive his way back through. He kept saying how bad handling his car was mid-pack. Now, if we've qualified all year, he's gotten top starting spots because he's been there all season. What happens? Does some of those races change if he has a bad qualifying run, if he's starting 20th or 18th? Does he get stuck mid-pack and not get able to drive through the field? Does that maybe change some things? Did that show either A, the package is crap, which we kind of already know it is, because that's the fastest car. To me, the fastest car should drive up no matter where he's at in the field.
Yeah, sure.
That's part of it. And B, that fastest car was affected mid-pack. Now, what happens throughout the year? Because what we're doing now is essentially the 12 playoff guys. It doesn't matter what happens. You're going to start 1 through 12 every race. So it kind of makes a double-edged sword. Like, okay, well, if qualifying, does that change some things? And two, the racing package, does that change some things? But either way, it's the best car should have been able to drive for the field, and
no question.
He didn't. He only got the 10.
No question. And look, the other thing, it was just boring because there was nothing going on.
Yes.
There was no cautions. It's just, man, I mean, and you thought maybe for a minute or two, Elliott, does he have enough time? And he just didn't. And that was it. It was a typical one of those races where it's boring until, okay, maybe there's some drama in the last couple of laps. But no real drama, and it was pretty bad. So,
and I don't know why nobody didn't ask Denny Hamlin in the end. To me, it seemed like, oh, Elliott's going to catch him. To how much games was he playing just to spice it up? Because it's like once Elliott was catching him with like 2 to go, he just like he turned the jets on. Like, oh, this isn't. It went from like a second to 0.7 to 0.5 to 0.3 to 0.2, and I'm like, oh my gosh! And then all of a sudden it went back up to 0.4. 0.7, like, come on. Was Hamlin just toying around? Like, I'm going to take care of my stuff. Let's make this a better ending than what it's going to be, and then I'll pull away and the lap to go. Just
and no, I didn't hear anything. I would have thought the first person that should have been the first interview outside of Denny Hamlin or Chase Elliott should have been Kyle Larson. And I didn't even, because I was looking for that. Because again, I was still looking for an explanation. I was like, somebody telling me, all right, somebody talk to Kyle, or maybe I'll hear it. Nobody, I mean, that should have been like one of the first things that was talked about, or it should have been re-emphasized on the broadcast while nothing was going on for an hour. I mean, kind of remind everybody of what's going on here. Oh, well, that they didn't even talk about it. I was like, if you missed what happened, which I did, you would never have known why Kyle Larson was in the position he was in. It's just, come on, guys. I mean, especially the interview. And probably don't even interview Kyle. Maybe interview Kyle's crew chief. Maybe that would have been the way to go.
Yeah, and here's what I'm concerned about them. Being a part of sports teams before is sometimes moments like that when the doubt creeps in, because I saw the Chevrolet quotes afterwards, and he seemed, I don't know why it wasn't on TV, because he seemed pretty perturbed in the quotes that I saw about, yeah, we blew the call. He seemed pretty mad that we got Talladega this week. Kyle Larson's finished 40th the last 2 times there. 4 of his last 6 were 39th or worse. Now, let's say he does that again. Let's say he's back there. He gets caught up in something. Odds are it says he's going to. What if Kyle Larson's now got a fight on his hands at the Roval? Now that doubt creep, now that internal, which grants the Roval, but anything can happen. What
go get him, Christopher Bell.
Yeah.
I'll get you.
What happens if Kyle? What happens if he's in a position where, because he hasn't been in this really all year?
Absolutely.
Hey, you got a points race, and now there's pressure, and now let's say a loose wheel, a bad pit stop, like
yes.
Does that right there can cause friction within a team? That one decision that they made,
that is true,
could compound to all of a sudden you're going to get to the Roval and something happens, and now you got Cliff Daniels and Larson. The first 28 races are dominating to now they're doubting each other.
That's right.
That right there. So that's where that decision. We'll have to circle back. Yeah, we have to come back to this moment, and if something happens like Vegas. That was the demise of this. That something that small can derail a team, and we'll see what happens. That's why he's got to come out and do good in Talladega, or
you know how he's probably going to race.
Back up.
He's probably going to sit all. He's probably going to be one of the drivers that clearly is going to sit back and try to avoid the wrecks.
Yep.
So
I don't go for. If I were him, I wouldn't be going for stage points. You don't need them.
He doesn't.
No.
At this point, yeah.
But if you remember last time at Talladega, they forget to take something off the car and the engine blew. Remember that? And back in the spring, it was a team mistake. So if I'm Larson, you're probably doubting a little bit coming in right now because if you look at the Roval before Larson was with Hendrick, granted he didn't race last year, he was 25th and 13th. So there's a potential.
Absolutely.
Say all because of that one decision where he was probably going to get a top 2 or 3.
Because that's
and
dumb,
now here they are.
what they did.
Yep.
They deserve it. It cost me money.
Almost cost me all $300. I'm glad I spread the wealth.
Well, and I was actually I had because I'm able to at this point with football. I figured, well, why just do football parlays? I could do football and NASCAR, especially with NASCAR on a Sunday. So I hit a couple of like money line college footballs. Like I hit Oregon State upset USC, and they were like a 4-1 dog. I put like a couple of bucks on that with Larson at 3-1. That would have paid me $100.
That helps your. Yeah.
What was that?
Yes, that helps your odds.
Yeah.
To do that. Yeah.
So that would have paid me $100.
NASCAR. Yep.
I did another one with Larson. Same thing. It would have paid me $100. Beginning of the week, I put $25 on Larson. Would have paid me $100. I had $300 on Larson. That's why I just kept looking over. Okay. And of course, it always happens under those circumstances. It's like, of course. And if I didn't have all that money on Larson, he would have won by he wouldn't have had that mistake. And that's NASCAR.
That's all right. I had Michigan football got me. I had a 17 college football parlay and hit them all but Michigan.
I see. You should have talked to me about that one. I'm a Rutgers fan and a Michigan fan.
Are you?
See, I'm a fan of both teams. So I would have been able to give you an unbiased, account.
If Michigan giving up 17 points at home, in Rutgers,
it's a different team.
I took Michigan. I hit the Florida over 18.5. I laid the points. I took IU on the road. I took there's like 6 or 7 of them. I hit, and then all of a sudden,
would you take on the road?
IU on the road. They suck this year, and they.
What do you mean? You went with Western Kentucky?
No, I went with IU.
What,
with the points,
to win?
The points up to win. I took money
Without
line
the
on them.
points.
Without the points, I went money line, and then.
Oh, you're lucky you didn't take the points.
They only won by 2.
Yeah, exactly.
They only won by 2. I hit. I had a 16.
How much is that?
Parlay. It was going to pay $420 for a $1 bet.
Jeez.
Because I took some upsets, and they were all hitting. And then I'm like, why is DraftKings not offering me a buyout? Usually they do. Right? And I looked at the score, and I'm like, Notre Dame. I took Notre Dame. It was plus money getting the points.
Absolutely.
Like, that's no brainer.
Yeah.
Take that one. So, I was taking teams that were getting points with plus money, and I threw in, Michigan, 17.5. Yeah, they got this. Nope.
They're lucky they even won.
Yeah. Yeah, that's – but, back to NASCAR.
That's why it's hard.
Larson cost you and Michigan cost me, and we would be a lot richer right now.
That's what happens.
Both would have hit.
Yeah. Okay, so at Talladega, interesting. And this is kind of surprising that 13 of the last 14 winners started in the top 6 rows. I mean, why would that be at Talladega? Do we have an answer to that?
Qualifying does not matter at Talladega, as we've laid out many, 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 many times. However, I think the predictability of Talladega has become significantly easier to understand. I think there are wrecks, but generally they happen. You get a couple favorites, I should say, that squeak through, and they end up once one favorite is left.
He doesn't have a lot of competition.
That's kind of what happens at Talladega. So Talladega, for me, over the past couple of years, has actually lost a lot of its unpredictability. To be honest with you, I don't think we see the same kind of crazy upsets like we used to. Like when Brad Keselowski won, I think he was driving the Mikasuki car. I forget what even team that was one of his first wins. That was an upset. Yeah. And that's happened a few times, but look how long it's been, exactly to your point, Greg, that's happened.
And
you got to look at Daytona. Yeah, Daytona, you get William Byron, Eric Jones, Justin Haley, I actually had that in my five burning questions for Friday about why looking at the two. Like, this Talladega the wild card of the round, and I word into it. It's not, because like CJ said, you you look at the winners at Talladega, it's Hamlin, Blaney, Almirola,
Yeah.
like Keselowski. Like then it seemed like an upset, but then looking back, I'm like, he's won the most times out of anybody. He's won 6 times there, so he's just good at Talladega. The guys that are good at Talladega win at Talladega.
Yeah, I was looking to find out like how many drivers that were in the playoffs or not in the playoffs had won at Talladega. It's like that doesn't happen.
Here. No, it twice.
Twice in what? Since what?
No, I'm sorry. 5 times in playoff history as a non-playoff driver won the Cup Series race at Talladega.
Okay.
05 with Dale Jarrett. 06 Brian Vickers. 09
I didn't even realize that there was a system back then.
It was 2014 and 2013 was kind of their own little, and then 13 was 11 Boyer, 13 McMurray. But since we've gone to the winning year in 2014, all 7 have been won by a round of 12 driver. So it's 7 for 7.
Got it.
And Ford has won 10 of the last 12 races there. So really, when we go through our picks, it was more Ford driver, round of 12 driver. Throw money on him. Why not?
Toyota, 1 win in the last 14. Chevy, 1 win in the last 12. So let's start with we actually have 4 drivers that we all agreed upon. Can you name the 4, CJ?
Blaney.
Correct.
Hamlin.
Correct.
DiBenedetto.
Correct. Will he go 4 for 4? The only way you go 4 for 4 is if you're cheating.
I'm not
because you wouldn't get this guy.
I'm going to look at the odds and I'm going to try to guess. You said Hamlin?
I'm going to guess Logano. I already said Hamlin. Logano. I don't know. I got Blaney.
Because you're obviously thinking about guys you have. You have to. So.
Oh yeah.
What's that?
I said, yeah. I'm not. Don't make the mistake I did last week. Pick the guy
that would be silly.
Choose.
I forgot about that. I did take it.
It's got to be a long shot.
Is it
I'm guessing.
William Byron.
Oh, okay.
See,
okay.
That's like.
I was going to guess Busher. Did you not pick Busher, Greg?
No, I know you guys both took
that
Busher.
Shocks me.
I know.
You always pick Busher.
Honestly, I was thinking about it, and I saw both of you guys took, and I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't take. I mean, he's a long shot. I have him in my fantasy team. If he wins, I'll be happy that he won on my fantasy team, and I'll take it. I don't want to jinx it by we all take Chris Busher in the same race. So, but I can see why you guys took
lock
Busher.
him in. I went low with him, so even if he wins, I've won $20. So, no.
Actually, it would be $28. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, $8 back. Yeah.
All right. So, Denny Hamlin still the favorite, like he was last time at Talladega at 7-1. He's the defending champ, winning the race last year. Didn't fare well this year, even though he had 43 laps leading, but he got screwed up there. I'm not sure. I remember. Was he just in some sort of wreck?
He got 2 of them. I mean, he was collected in the middle of that Logano flip, and then I think it was 3 of the 4 Hendrick guys wrecked on the tri-oval, and I think he was like right in the middle. It was a restart. I remember he was right in the middle of it. Not of his doing. He was just kind of stuck.
Well, he's won 2 of the last 4 this year, so he's definitely. He's where he wants to be. And we talked about this all year, that all he has to do is get hot late, and he's just about there. Now, he's led 18 laps or more in his last 3 races at the track. His other win besides last year was back in 2014. But yeah, Denny Hamlin is the real logical choice. Now, you guys invested a little bit more money than I did. I kind of put in more like, okay, I'll make a few bucks, but not as much as you guys, because again, it's Talladega and it's always difficult. But he's definitely the man to beat this week, isn't he, CJ?
Absolutely. 4 top 5s out of the last 6 races at Talladega. The other 2 were crash damage and crash out. So, and like you said, always up front leading laps, starting from pole. Going with him every week. He's starting to get hot. I think he's there, and he's been very good at Talladega.
Joey Logano. Tell you what, let's talk about the Penske drivers. Logano is 10-1. Blaney's 11-1, and Keselowski's 14-1. Now, you guys decided to just go all in on the Fords, so you took them all. I avoided Logano and Keselowski. I just went with Blaney, heavy on Blaney. So I decided I'm not going to even it out. I'm going to take the money from Keselowski and Logano and put it all on Blaney. And that's because I just don't really still feel anything out of Logano and Keselowski, Eric. I know that they both are really good here. There's no question about that. But I just am not feeling it with either one of them. Whereas Blaney is not only kind of back to where he needs to be, his confidence must be at an all-time high, but these are the types of races that Blaney wins. So I thought that was a logical way to go. If you were going to take one of the three drivers, who would you take?
Blaney, just because of how good he's been. I mean, he just won Daytona. You look at what he's done at Talladega. He's had 2 wins in his last 4. And
should he be the second choice?
He won this. I'm shocked that him and Logano weren't flip-flopped just because of how Blaney's ascending. And Logano, I mean, again, on the season, he's 2 top 5s his last 14. I mean, he's not really shown anything. Keselowski's got 1 in his last 11, 2 in his last 19. So if you take the season, yeah, it's like, whoa, that seems a little steep. That's why I almost was like, do I take them? But then I realized it's Talladega. Throw the season stats out. It really doesn't pertain to this week. These guys are good there. And there's a couple what CJ said earlier about the best drivers too when in Talladega is it seems to be a fine line like these drivers in the series I'll talk about. If you're going to push somebody in the end or draft with somebody, you're going to draft with the guy that knows his way around there. So you're going to get seems the Logano and Keselowski and Hamlin are going to get the drafting help. Even if you're a guy on the outside looking in, like I just want a good finish. I don't want to mix it up with these guys. I'm going to hop on their back bumper and just ride the coattails forward. I'm going to help them because I know they're not going to cause me to wreck. So it's one of those where the rich get richer. Yep. And I feel like people know how good Keselowski is there. People know how good Logano is. I mean, Logano for a while, 2 straight playoff races he won there. Then we talked about Ford stats. So I felt like, this is probably the week I'm going to throw it all on, spread it between the 3 of them. And a little heavier towards Blaney just because I trust them. And I got Logano there and Keselowski. It's hard to sweep Talladega. Junior used to do it all the time, but it hasn't really been done a lot since. So I just threw money to kind of break even with Keselowski and think the other 2 are probably going to get this thing done.
Yeah, because if you look at it strange, Logano has led 6 laps or more in 11 of his last 12 at Talladega, 16 laps or more in 8 of his last 12, but he doesn't have a top 10 in his last 4 races with back-to-back wrecks. So we know the laps demonstrating how good he is at the track, but he has been lucky recently. And I kind of avoid drivers like that until they get out of it. Keselowski, meanwhile, with 6 wins, but if you look at it, he won this year. He stole that one. And that was his first top 10 since his 2017 win. He's only led 7 laps in his last 3 races. So, yeah, I just think that, I forget. How did he win this year?
To Benedetto, he moved up to block Blaney and left the inside lane wide open for him. And he just obviously took it. And when the Benedetto tried to come back down, it was too late and Blaney was already up top. So they split him. And then Blaney kind of tucked in there and rode with his teammate and had a forward charge until Byron came back up and tried to make a fight. So, Blaney was right there. It's like he's always around. And so, yeah, lucky win, but a win's a win. And I also feel like this is it for this 2 team. They're not going to win the Roval. They've not been good there in the past, and he's not been good on road courses this year. He enters 4 points to the good. The way they're running, this is their last chance, I feel like, for that 2 team with him to get a win. This gets you to the round of 8.
Or you're done.
Yeah, I feel like that's where they're
probably
at.
Probably going to be a winner crash.
We've seen probably. It's checkers or wreckers for him. And he's like a Kyle Busch. We've seen when you put his back to the wall, it's amazing what Keselowski does. So I feel like this is their rallying call right here, and it'd be kind of crazy if he took a round of 8 spot.
Who would you take out of the 3, CJ?
Blaney without question, but I think the reason that I took all of them and went at the Ford camp in general is just because they've got a better package here. And we haven't mentioned it yet, but at the super speedways, the manufacturers have been banding together. That's why Blaney, Keselowski, and DiBenedetto were all together at the end of the last race. That's why you've got 4 Fords out of the top 5 in Talladega. So all the Fords are going to be together. All the Toyotas are going to be together. All the Chevrolets are going to be together. So to me, it's not about recent history and getting out front and leading laps. It's just about being in that lead Ford bunch on the last couple of laps. And Keselowski proved you can, as long as you're there, you're going to have a chance at this track. So for me, it was all of them. But if I had to choose just one, Blaney, hands down, no questions asked.
Okay, as far as Hendrick, Elliott 11-1. He won back in 2019. And then you have Byron is 16-1. He did not have a top 15 in his first 4 races at Talladega, but in his last 3, 11th, 4th, and 2nd. So he's gotten better over the last several races there. Larson's 18-1, but that's one of those things where I guess I don't know. I mean, it's like, okay, it's name only, because statistically speaking, he should be like 30-1. 4 of his last 5 have ended in either an engine issue or a crash. And Bowman is 20-1. He was runner-up in 2019, but other than that, he really hasn't done much at all in 12 races. So Elliott's the clear driver in this group. And CJ, you and I are the only one to take Elliott. I'm interested. I was interested in the fact that Elliott, his futures went down. And I was a little bit surprised to see him as, pretty much a co-third choice here without a lot of great history. Is that just, you think that's just name recognition there, CJ, that here comes Chase Elliott again and, maybe we'll just put some money on our favorite driver?
Yeah, I agree, but he's not been bad.
Oh.
Elliott, so he's worthy of it for sure. But is he doing anything outstanding really to segregate himself from the bunch at this point? Probably not. And plus the fact that he was chasing down Hamlin last week probably has a lot to do with it as well. People might be thinking, oh yeah, Elliott's coming on at the end of the season. So I think those 2 factors combined are what's driving it. But it's well earned. He's led a lot of laps here. He's got the win from back in 2019. I think Hendrick for me overall. If I'm going to stack them up, it's going to be Elliott, then Byron, and then Larson and Bowman significantly further behind. And I just think Hendrick encounters problems here. Not that they don't have speed, not that they can't be fast. All of them have proven that they can be fast and they can get out front and lead, but they haven't proven that they're immune to the mistakes, and they haven't proven that they're able to avoid the crashes. Every single one of them has been involved in more crashes probably than all the other drivers that we've talked about so far on this show. So it's a question about them really making it to the end, and of the 2, and Byron probably have the best chance of that. Byron's proven he can do it. He won at Daytona. So.
Yeah, you took Byron, Eric, as your lone Hendrick driver. So why did you decide to do that?
I just don't trust him this week. I feel like Elliott should be there, but they're in an interesting predicament across the board with him because Byron and Bowman need stage points in the sense they're right there on the bubble. I mean, Bowman's 13 back. That can be made up pretty quickly. Byron's 4 back. Stage points will help you. Elliott is 22 up. You get a couple 10 stage points, 5 one, 5 the other. It really puts you in a good position going that final stage. Or if you all get all hell breaks loose and get caught up and stuff, you at least have a good cushion going to the Roval. Larson being 57 up is in that position to where, it's easy to just go right in the back, punt stage points away. But it also, if it seems pretty tame and you're already up front and you can get some stage points, why not build such a big lead that you could go to the Roval and have this thing clinched? It doesn't even matter what you do.
I doubt he's going to have the nerve to do that.
That's what I'm wondering. To me, I'd ride in the back, but like CJ said, you're going to manufacture and teammate support. Is he going to ride the back end of that train and probably have Bowman, Byron, Elliott, Larson riding together? Do they need his help? What does he do? We saw in Daytona, he surprisingly went for it when I didn't think he necessarily would. But I just don't trust their super speedway package for Chevy across the board. I think Fords are bar none the best. Chevy's got 1 fall win at Talladega. since 2013 or 2012 even. And you're going to see them all line up. They're just strength in numbers in the Fords. And I just trusted them more.
Who's
and I
the
took
best
the guy that
Hendrick driver at these tracks, Daytona, Talladega, Byron or Elliott?
I think honestly, overall, Elliott just gets caught up in other people's wrecks. Byron's come along; he's got the finishes. Elliott, I think, is a byproduct because he's always up front. He's always just getting caught up in something. But Byron's, like CJ said, he's won a duel. He won Daytona last year. He was second in the spring. He's always right there. But it's kind of one of those guys you look up and like, oh, there's William Byron. Whereas most of the race, it's you see Chase Elliott up there. You see what he's doing. So it's hard to equate the two because one's always up there for 95% of the race and the other one because everybody takes themselves out and there he is. So that's why I trust Byron in the sense that I think he's going to be there. I don't know if Chase Elliott will be. I mean, I looked at his fall finishes because it's two separate races. The spring race, everybody's going for the win. The fall race, people are, if you got a teammate in the playoffs and one not, you're going to edge for the guy in the playoffs. He's got one top 10. He doesn't even have a top 5. So I sided towards the guy that was fourth last year and second in the spring, and I went with Byron for those. If Elliott, though, I feel like Blaney should be 10-1. Logano should be 11-1. I would probably put Elliott, if he was 16-1, I'd probably be more apt to take him and move Byron down to 18-1 and Larson back. But I'm shocked the way they did it for 11-1. Like, that's a little steep, especially for the extra money we have.
Yeah, I
agree. I can throw more at Byron.
I mean, the only
money
I put on Elliott was just to get my money back. That's it.
I feel like his week is next week. I think he just needs to get by with a good cushion and get into next week and toy with the field.
Yeah, unfortunately. Then also at 16-1, along with Byron, is Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. Now, Kyle's only won once back in 2008. It's been a long time. He's only led 27 laps in his last 8 races. No, he doesn't have a top 5 in his last 8. So it's been a while for Kyle Busch where he's actually been competitive at Talladega. While Harvick also just has 1 win, only led 16 laps in his last 5. 4th earlier this year, though, which was his first top 5 at the track since 2018. But Kyle and Harvick are both coming into this race feeling good about things, CJ. And that's kind of why I put a couple of bucks on each of them. Solely for that reason.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't blame you for doing that. That's a good reason to do so. But like you said, it's been a while since Kyle's been competitive here. I'd like to put some on him, but he's one that I just don't trust because of that lack of production here over the recent years. Kevin Harvick deserves serious consideration, but I don't know that he actually, for me, he doesn't cross the line into it yet. He's been a little bit more competitive in contrast than Kyle Busch has been recently. Like you said, the 4th year earlier this year, he led 12 laps. He's part of the Ford camps. The reason why I think I would avoid Harvick this week is because not because of recent momentum, things are good, but the fact that he openly hates this style of racing. And I think that we've also heard similar comments from Kyle Busch. I mean, how many times the past couple of years has Kyle Busch gotten knocked out and said, happens every time. I don't know why we race this, blah, 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 blah. Harvick, I hate this racing. All I want to do is get on to next week. I don't think those old guys,
I don't think they have a choice though. They got to avoid a wreck, and they have to be at the front if they can avoid the wrecks, or else they may be eliminated from the playoffs.
Exactly right. But I'm Harvick's getting close to retirement, and Talladega is a dangerous place, and he's seen the worst of it throughout his career. That's going to be in his head, and you can't go into these races even with your back against the wall, knowing that you have to do it to get through to the playoffs. You have to enter these races at Talladega really thinking that you're competitive and knowing that you're going to be aggressive and go for the win. I don't think either one of them can do it this weekend. More on Harvick. I think Kyle Busch can hype himself up and get there. It's going to take some effort. I just don't think Kevin Harvick's got it anymore. And maybe he'll prove me wrong. That would be a good thing. I'd like to see him win. But I just don't, for that reason, I just don't think he's got it this weekend.
Well, the one edge Harvick has over Kyle is the fact he's driving a Ford, Eric. And was that the reason why you decided to put a few bucks on him?
100%. Yeah. And I feel like they have an internal fight between the Stewart-Haas team with Harvick right now, in the sense we've seen their path in the playoffs. They don't have, I feel, other than Bristol, the speed to win these races. And you can see they're going stage points. They're going as many. He got 25 in the first round. That was fourth best. He got 6 last week. They're like, hey, we're probably not going to get many finishes better than 5th. I mean, he's got 2 finishes better than 5th all year. So their thought process, I think, is let's get as many stage points, and that let's get a top 10 and a bunch of stage points. And that's going to compound up to a top 5 in paying points. Well, they shifted their philosophy on super speedways lately, in the sense they ride in the back. Daytona and Talladega the last 2 years, they're nowhere to be. They're almost borderline losing the draft. They're so far back. But it's helped because now he's in the top 5 at the end. He has 2 straight top 5s in the Daytona 500. Prior to that, I think it was 2013 the last time he got a top 5 there. Talladega, he was top 5 back in the spring, but he was nowhere to be found for the stages. They let everybody take themselves out, and there's Kevin Harvick in the end. But I don't think he can do that this weekend, because their approach all playoffs is let's get stage points. But when he did that at Talladega, like CJ said, he was always caught up in wrecks and he hated the place. So what do they do? I kind of erred on the side of caution that I bet they ride in the back. It's worked for him. Why change it? You got Greg Zipadelli as his crew chief this week. His crew chief's going to be on a lake over his son's birthday party. He's openly said that I'm not going to really pay much attention because this is a blessing in disguise that I'm not going to be there. So I almost think they don't overthink it. Why get risky and get caught up in something? It's worked 3 of your last 5 super speedway starts. Maybe stick to it. So I feel like he'll be there in the end. Do I think he'll win? No. But it's Talladega. If he's a Ford and people take themselves out, who knows who's left? He has won there before. So that was kind of my approach. And Kyle Busch and the Toyotas they're just flat out not good in super speedways. And I don't know why it's going to change on Sunday. So I thought, let's go to the guy that has shown he can finish the top 5 there. And Kyle, I think, will try to live to see another day.
Kyle, you just get the feeling it's more than likely going to end up. He's not there at the end. It's going to be in a wreck somehow, because that's all we ever, like CJ said. It seems like after every one of those races, that's always Kyle bitching and moaning about hating the type of racing it is. And like we said the last time at Daytona when it happened to him, they're not changing it. You can.
I don't know why he doesn't ride in the back with Harvick.
Sure.
I mean, because you've seen
all
of these fluke guys in the top 10. You look up at the end, like JJ Yeley was 6th, Timmy Hill was 8th. It's like these guys weren't even in the draft. Yeah. And the reason why is because of that. With Kyle being 35 to the good, to me, I punt the stage points away, because you look at the Roval, 32nd, 37th, 30th. Those are his finishes.
Surprising. Yeah.
If he gets caught up in something early, this is what happened to him last year. He got eliminated in the round of 12 because of these 2 races.
Be smart.
Just live to see another day. Just get a top 15 and move on. Because if you get caught up in something early and he's complaining again,
over.
I think they're done. I think he's in the Keselowski because he's got 1 top 5 these playoffs, and you're not going to get very far like that.
The rest are pretty much long shots. I was the only one to put a couple of bucks on Kurt Busch, Reddick, Wallace, and Chastain. I put Kurt Busch and Chastain together. Kind of a feeling, okay, well, maybe that'll work out in some way, because we know how good Kurt Busch is at this type of racing. Wallace, we know he's had his moments as well. Reddick is also an interesting one because he won the Xfinity race at this track, and he's got a couple of decent finishes, 2 top 10s in 3 Cup races, and he's coming off a 6th place finish last week, and he's Richard Childress Racing. And matter of fact, Eric, you put some money on his teammate, Austin Dillon. So what about that?
Yeah,
we didn't go take both of them, but you took one, I took the other.
Yeah, I mean, Reddick should be there. I feel like he has some bad luck, gets caught up in other people. He's aggressive. And Dillon, We know he wants to win. He's won a duel back in February. He looked really good in Daytona for the Coke Zero Sugar 400. He just didn't get it done to win. So I feel like he's got a good super speedway car. I almost feel like he's going to let the battle of attrition take people out. He doesn't need stage points. Neither does Reddick. I feel like those two will go to the back for a while. And then just kind of play themselves out right there in the end. So I thought for 25-1 to get a guy like that, and he's won the Daytona 500. He knows what it takes to get around a cup race there. So yeah, I thought that was kind of the low-hanging fruit to go ahead and throw some money his way.
And then, as we mentioned before, CJ, we all took Di Benedetto at 30-1, and it's not like he has this tremendous record at the racetrack, because that's just not the case. But he was 5th earlier this year, led 28 laps. He's actually led 60 laps there over his career, but a lot of it's come recently. And he's just been there. We said it at Daytona, and he was this close. Chase Elliott wouldn't have screwed up his night. Di Benedetto might have won that race. So he's really getting close. And as I said at Daytona, I'm going to say it again. If he has the lead late in one of these races on Sunday, I think he's going to finally put it away. He's overdue, but he's got to take that lead with a few laps to go to do it. And he came that close to taking the lead at Daytona. So I think we all believe that if Di Benedetto is going to get a win, this is the spot.
Yeah, 39 laps led in his last 3 visits to Talladega, 5th place here earlier this year. And there's only been one race at Talladega since the fall race of 2017. He has only failed to lead a lap in one of those races. So he is a guy that is always there at this track. And like you said, I think the time is now for him. This might be his last shot, as we were talking about before coming on air. 28 laps led in a 5th place finish, coming close in Daytona 500. He's hungry. He's in a Ford. No reason he can't get it done on Sunday.
And out of the long shots that you took, Eric, we're just taking a look at the 4. You have Dillon, Di Benedetto, Buescher, and McDowell. Who's your top long shot?
Probably Di Benedetto, just because of. Remember, he should have won this race last year. He got penalized. Did he block Byron below the line? Was that what happened? I remember he should have won this race last year. He should have won the spring race. I just feel like it's a storybook that we talk about all these playoff guys winning, that this will be his way to win. It'll get the Wood brothers their 100th win. And he said going into Daytona, as bad as it hurt him to do so, he studied hard on what he messed up those last 2 Talladega races. And he's like, it was painful to watch, but I had to learn. You have to learn what you do. So if you're put in that position again, you know what to do better. So I feel like because of Daytona, he was fighting for his playoff life to get in. He now knows if he's put in that position again, and like CJ said, he's in a Ford. So I feel like he's the top one. McDowell was lightning strike twice. I don't know. I mean, he won the Daytona 500 and he was 2nd at Talladega back in the spring. So it's like 2 of his 3 super speedway starts this year, he was in the top 2. So I'm like, for 50-1, he had to take him. And Buescher, I take him every it doesn't matter who's in that 17 car. I'm gonna take him every time in a super speedway. It could be a trained monkey. I don't care. I'm taking him in the 7. That 17 is a good car on the super speedways. But what I did find interesting, I was trying to look at the picks, and none of us did. None of us took Stenhouse. I was shocked by that. He's the same one. I used to always take him, but
too aggressive too recently. He's been caught up in too many wrecks. He doesn't have the trust of the rest of the drivers, so he can't find friends, and he's not able to move forward anymore like he used to. That
was my thinking. That's exactly my. I almost took him. I was like, man, 20-1. Like usually he's like 14 to 18-1, and they got him down like he's in that sweet spot.
If this wasn't a playoff race, I might have put money on him. But the fact that it's also a playoff race,
spring,
I'm like. Plus, he's got those back-to-back. Like CJ said, those bad performances. So
I look more towards his teammate at Priest too, because Priest ran good at the 500.
He's got 5 top 20s in all 5 of his starts, 2 top 10s, 1 top 5. 40 to
6
1.
in the Daytona 500.
Priest would be
40 to
one
1.
to look. Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't be shocked if he were up there at the end.
And none of us took Truex. Big surprise. 2 top 5s in
One top 5 since
33
07.
races. Average finish 21.8.
I don't have it in front of me, but I thought I had this Larson points paying races. I don't want to say this wrong. I'm pretty sure this is the stat. Is Daytona and Talladega of his whole career, he's never had a top 5 in a cup race at Daytona or Talladega. So you got to go back to 12 or 13.
Wow.
4 races a year. He's either has 1 or 0. I can't remember exactly what it is. Yeah. And Truex with 1 top 5 since 07 is 25 to 1. This is the race that it's like your good guys are terrible here. And it's why that's why I feel like a Blaney, a Byron, a Hamlin, they're good here. The other guys aren't. I just don't see it changing. Being Talladega, you can play with your head a little bit and overthink it, but I feel like it should be a pretty straightforward.
Well, Briscoe
winner.
drives a Ford. He's 50 to 1, and he was 11th this year in his first Cup start. Eric Jones was 2nd and 5th last year. And what about, your boy LaJoy always seems to pop up every once in a while in these types of races.
I almost took him.
And Haley has 2 Xfinity Series wins. And wouldn't it just be like NASCAR to have someone like Haley win a playoff race? So,
you say that, but you know what a Haley win does? It puts those guys who are questionable, like the Kyle Bushes and the Kevin Harvicks, who've got that weird strategy play through. It puts them through. It gives them hope for next week. It gets them out of the gamble of having to race a super speedway. So that's not a far-fetched
They
theory.
want those guys to win. Yeah, they absolutely want those guys to. And
Exactly.
LaJoy, he admitted the reason I didn't take, every super speedway race you see me throw money on LaJoy. The reason I didn't this time is because the new car coming out next year. He admitted on one of the SiriusXM shows for Daytona, because they leased their engines from Hendrick, and because Chevrolet knew that they typically have good super speedway cars, Chevrolet gave them a brand new full power engine. Because he meant these smaller teams, they don't get the full new engine. It's usually leased from somewhere. It's down in power because they don't want to blow it. That's why they run where they run. And you remember the 400? He passed cars on merit. He was up front leading. It's because it was a brand new engine.
okay.
They don't have that. They don't have that this week. Since he's not in the playoffs, they're not gonna.
Got it.
So I'm like, okay, if he couldn't win with that, he's not gonna win with an old engine. Not unless everybody takes themselves out. And I don't see 12 playoff drivers sitting in the garage with the checkered flag. So that's why I didn't take him.
Keep our fingers crossed for a fun race and maybe some fisticuffs. If we, it was so pathetic because did you catch the promos for the race this weekend? They showed they showed what happened with Harvick and Elliott. And I forget where I was watching it. It might have been the very beginning of the race. But they also showed it was like a longer extended version. It was like they were showing everything. And they were, even what Elliott said afterwards, it was like, man, they really are like pushing this, this little issue. And it's such a small issue. It's nothing anywhere remotely close to the fights we used to have. And it also just shows you, though, is, man, you get this at a place like Bristol, and you're promoting the hell of it, then why don't you go there twice a year? It's like it's right in front of your face. You're promoting the hell out of it. These guys get pissed at each other because it's Bristol, and you take the race out. I mean, it's just, I don't understand what their thinking process is. I just don't.
You ruined 2 good visits to a track that you've already got it. I think it only amplifies. Yeah, now it only amplifies that race. If that race isn't more sold out, not sold out, I don't think you'll ever get there. But with a dirt race, I get their thinking. The dirt race in lieu of the spring race, that race was dying anyways. This actually adds more value to your night race. It separates the two because it seems like they're taking what I gather is anybody that has 2 races other than like your Daytona, Talladega's, your classic tracks, we'll call it, Atlanta, Darlington, you better differentiate the 2, or you're probably going to lose that spring date because you're going to want to keep your playoff date. Look at what Charlotte did with their Roval, because they're not going to lose the 600. Like, well, maybe we change that. Bristol, Texas got the All-Star race. This adds more value to that play, but it's like you're punting the whole race weekend away. Nobody wants. Who's going to show up on Easter night in the middle of mountains in Tennessee to watch a dirt race when you know what you get in the playoff race? Because like you said, they're promoting the hell out of it. You don't promote in the dirt race, you're promoting the hell out of it. Why would you want to not do it twice? So,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's baffling.
I just hope that, I just don't want to see it happen anymore. One more year and that's it. Please don't. This can't be an ongoing thing. You cannot turn Bristol into once a year. You can't do it.
I don't know if I think this goes to the image NASCAR has these days and the drivers. And if I'm Harvick and Elliott's your most popular driver. He's got a lot of fans. Harvick, he's in the twilight of his career, but he's not afraid to mix it up. Why are they not behind the scenes like, hey, I know we're cool, but do you want to get into it more in front of the cameras? Because look how much attention this is getting. The sport needs this.
Yeah.
Like, don't take anything I say seriously to heart. You know how I feel behind. But like Earnhardt and Gordon did, like, hey, when the cameras are on, let's hate each other. Let's throw on this show. Let people think it's genuine, and let's sell some money and let's go sell some merchandise and collect the money later. We can really drive this, because if you look at the ratings, I looked this year, when there was a conflict, the next weekend had higher ratings than the race before. It's like I guarantee people tuned in this weekend or last weekend to see, knowing that it's not going to happen in Vegas, but people are going to tune in to see that there's a spillover.
Sure.
Why would you not keep it going? Like, I don't know why. I think
then people
Harvick
fell asleep 2 hours later.
Yep. Now it's gone. Because I would be in the media this week. I don't like Harvick. I want to punch that guy in his face. Get it out there. Like, play it up, because that helps with the playoffs, especially with your popular driver in a conflict, like Earnhardt used to be. Like, and then he behind the scenes, like they always said, that him and Gordon were friends behind the scenes, but Earnhardt owned Gordon's merchandise rights. So his thought was, you go to Pepsi, I'm going to go to Coke. You go do this, I'm going to do the opposite, because if we portray we hate each other and have this on-track rivalry, but we really like each other behind the scenes, we're going to gain more fans. They're either going to love you or hate you. And same way for me, and we're going to sell more. It's going to be more popular. Well, you got Lewis Hamilton and Verstappen in Formula One doing a great job. I think there's mutual respect there, but they're playing it up, and those ratings are just getting higher and higher and higher. NASCAR's got it right now with your most popular guy, and they're just playing videos from Bristol. Like, let's go to the future. Let's go ahead and keep this going.
Yeah.
But it's died out. You got a boring race. You got Talladega, where there's not going to be a conflict there. You're not going to purposely wreck somebody at Talladega. No. It would happen again at the Roval. But are there going to be the war of the words? And I think they lost. I think that window's shut now. I think it's too far and long gone now.
Yeah, pretty much. But, we can hope and dream. It's just NASCAR just hasn't done anything smart for a few years. And I don't think we can really expect anything to change. We've talked a lot about a lot of the good they've done. They've just, unfortunately, it's just been a really bad year. A really bad year. I mean,
well, yeah, Christopher Bell and Larson and Watkins Glen, and it spilled into Indy, and they said they didn't talk to each other, and then it was gone. And I remember Larson was asked during media day if they talked. He's like, I don't know why you're asking me that. I forget who he was telling that to. I think it was Alan Cavana asked him that, and he basically played it off like they've not spoken. Like, there's probably something there, but nobody's pushing it. Nobody's bringing it out there, because these are two young drivers that were really good friends. It goes back to dirt. And here you are, two of the top teams. You got that rivalry nobody's talking about. Hamlin and Chase Briscoe dropped off the face of the earth. Nobody was talking about. You got another one, and I have a feeling it's going to go by the wayside. It's like you've got conflict. Conflict sells in this sport, and you're not maximizing it.
I think the other problem they have, and I think this has been an ongoing problem for several years now, is that they don't have their own network. It makes no sense to not have your – and, it's we have our shows on NBCSN and so forth and Fox, whatever. But how does a company that big not put together a network? You can put it on, you can stream it, you can and have, just make sure you have like these are the shows every week. It's a consistent show, it's a consistent channel, and every week all you have to do is turn this on or record this, and you're gonna get whatever. Maybe you're gonna get, hey, this is gonna be one of those shows where we're gonna get the drivers on that had the confrontations on last week or something. I mean, there's just none of that. You have to go there, and you got to go there, and you got to listen to this. It's just all over the place, and it's on all different times and all different channels, and that's part of the reason. It just doesn't make any sense how NASCAR doesn't have their own network.
Well, here's the other thing they're doing. Yeah,
it's the old business model. I mean, that's the way all sports were, however many years ago, and it's only been recently that some of the leagues have started getting their own channels, whether they're streaming or on cable. And NASCAR in particular is, as we know, very slow to adapt to changing times, and they are still trying to put Fox and NBC versus one another and bid up the rights, and they need to drive the viewership.
Yeah, screw that.
So. And they need to.
Horse racing has their own channel. Tennis has their own channel. Golf, baseball,
channel, golf. Yeah.
Everyone has their own channel except NASCAR.
Well, here's where they're messing up is. I have a guy behind the scenes that works in their marketing, and I'm not going to out him, but he's a very good guy, gives me a lot of info. Here's where they're botching this. I would venture to say, with all the teasing they've done, their schedule, you could have hey, Tuesday night at 8 p.m. we're going to unveil the next year, because they've changed it every year now. They're doing a good job. Well, here's what they're doing, and this is straight at it. He works for NASCAR. He works for their marketing department. He helps them put all this together. And his bosses, what they're doing is they're leaking races purposely to bigger outlets to get the news out, to bring the schedule more but it's the Gateway News, they purposely leak that to certain outlets. Why would you not keep that? Because it frustrates the hell out of him, because he's like, I can't plan for this unveiling if my bosses are leaking this out already. They're purposely leaking it out. And I'm like, why? Because I was asking, I go, why don't you do? Because I knew the schedule was going to come out at 11:30 or whatever it was a couple weeks ago that day. He knew that day. Here's the problem: they've got 4 guys in this marketing department, guys or girls. I don't know who's. I know a male that told me, but there's females and males that work there, and there's 4 regions. They didn't share the regions with the other regions, so he only knew one section. But they're leaking the schedule to other media people. And I'm like, why do they do that? To me, why don't you just say, keep it internal? Don't leak it. If you want to let motorsport know, hey, this is coming out, here's what's going to be if you want to pre-write. But we know we told you, and if this comes out, hell will be to pay. Because at 8 o'clock on Tuesday night on NASCAR.com, on our YouTube channel, or whatever you need to do, we're going to unveil the 2022 schedule. But that's the problem,
is they don't care about it.
They don't do it.
They don't have any of that. Yeah, they just...
No, and they're leaking stuff. I'm like, why would you leak it? That seems so counterproductive. Why are you leaking it to big outlets when you'd get the impact if you just wait? Because his point was, my bosses want to make that, Steve Phelps, the higher ups want to make this a big deal. They want to come out with look what we're doing. He's like, everybody already knows the Clash is getting moved. Everybody knows Gateway is going to be on the... How can I tease this to make this a big deal, to make people want to tune in at 11:30 on our social channels when everybody already knows the schedule? It got leaked ahead of time. And it's to me, that's a NASCAR problem. That's a higher up problem.
Of course.
They're the ones leaking it. And why are you leaking it? Why are you letting this out? And it's you've got it. You're going to shutter away every opportunity that you've got, because pretty soon that schedule's not going to change like this. You're going to come back into a routine again, and you just wasted look how many people watch the NFL draft or the NFL schedule release.
Sure.
You could have that. Sell ad space. That helps fund this thing. But no, let's go ahead and leak it to Racer, and let's let them go ahead. We're going to have our schedule release at Tuesday, 11:30. but Racer's going to leak it at Monday
Yeah.
at 7 o'clock to 2. Go to their website, not
Silly.
ours. Why would you do that? It's just a
again,
backwards
they
way of
don't
thinking.
have anybody working for them right now that has any sort of clue when it comes to modern marketing. They just don't. At the high up.
No, the problem is
the people making the major decisions.
Yeah,
They have to hire somebody. They have to hire a big marketing genius and it's their fault because I'm sure they could find one. They're all over the place. It shouldn't be difficult. They just don't want to pay somebody to do it for whatever reason. I don't, again, it's this NASCAR family owned, we're going to do everything our old fashioned way kind of thing. I don't know. I can't, there's no explanation to what we've seen this season. None.
No.
The decisions that have been made this season, both on the track and
it's the best season ever. Remember those commercials?
Yeah.
Where did those commercials go? We haven't seen one of them for about 3 months.
Nope.
Maybe ever since maybe the last one they probably ran was the week before what was the race that Kyle Busch and Truex got hurt? What was that?
It's when Fox, I think it was Fox's when they
that was their network. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Right.
You see, again, that just is also that whole thing with having 2 networks, and it's just because even if you do the 2 network thing, there's nothing wrong with that. Again, as long as you have your own network, everybody can funnel in there.
Funnel stuff through the week. Play old races. Like, you got a YouTube channel, you know what to do. It's just all the penalties, all this stuff, all the schedule,
so much information out there.
Yeah,
people.
Why would you leak it? It doesn't make any sense to me. It's like you're going to let somebody else benefit. Like, I know some of this info, and it's like, yeah, I could leak it. It's not my news to share, because if I keep leaking your news and I'm getting all the hits and you're not, eventually you're not going to have any hits and I don't have a job. It's like, why would I do that? You're the one. I will have a takeaway from your news, but I shouldn't break your news. I'm not you. I don't work for NASCAR. I'm not NASCAR. I'd rather have a takeaway from your news. That's what I should be doing, not breaking your news. I don't work for you. I don't get my paycheck signed for you. But all these other journalists, they're the ones doing it. I'm like, what? You don't work for them. Why in God's green earth would you call up Sports Business Journal, Racer, Motorsport, and like, hey, we're going to release our schedule next week, but I'm going to send you it now, and you can put it on your website ahead of time? Why would you do that? It's like, I would go to Comcast, Xfinity, Gatorade. I'm going to release my schedule next Tuesday. I'm going to have some 30-second promo spots for a commercial in the middle of these. Do you want in? Sure. Well, how much do you want? Go that route instead, because you can't go to them. It's like, I'm going to have my schedule come out next Tuesday at 11:30, 30-second spot. I'm like, yeah, I already saw it from Motorsport like an hour ago. Why would I pay you when I already have? It's just like, why do you continue to do this? It's the 21st century. You can have your own stuff right now. Air your races on Fox.
By the way, have they
NBC,
been testing their cars out yet? Their new cars out yet?
No, they're behind schedule. Now they're talking about they're going to have.
There you go.
Yep. Get this. There's reports out there that they're going to talk about the car is not going to be done. They're going to develop it as the season goes on next year while they're racing.
Of course they are.
Yeah. Great. Can't wait.
Why don't we just race this car this year and develop this next year?
Develop on the dirt. It'll be fantastic.
Yeah, the dirt.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Yeah. Here's the first race. We're going to go to a football field and we're going to race it. The very first time you're going to race this car is going to be on a football field.
Yeah.
Like, what? It doesn't make any sense. I just don't understand why. And I think people would understand, the general public at this point, if you just go ahead and say, I'm sorry. As you know, we've been hit with COVID, parts freezes. It's just hard to get this all here. The infrastructure is in place. The teams have the bodies. We need to test this thing. So what we're going to do, we're going to run 2022 with this current car. We're going to leave it all parts free. Everything you see now will be in place. And all through the season, we're going to test this car. And hell, why don't you want to get more butts and seats? Hey, Friday practice session for hour and a half. We're going to bring the next gen out. We're going to test it. You can come watch it. And then afterwards, maybe stream it on your own network. Maybe that's what you do. Stream the test on your own network. And then afterwards, we're going to bring the normal race weekend cars out in practice. But you get to get behind the scenes look. What better data than have the car on the track? beforehand, and then you could go back and tinker with it, and then go into 2023 with some data. To me, that would make a lot more sense.
They could have done all this stuff 6 months ago.
Yeah,
they're so far behind. You got one company making these.
Yeah. So
the Xfinity Series to me is the best racing out of NASCAR right now. They put him to shame, and unfortunately that ending of the Xfinity race was great Saturday night.
Yes,
Cup race, you don't get it. It's just like it's right there, high horsepower, low downforce. The cars and your AAA should not be harder to compete in than your major league, but that's the way it is right now. It seems like it's easier to drive a Cup car than your minor league, essentially minor league series, and that's why is that?
Well, we could go on for hours with NASCAR's troubles, but we'll see how things go on Sunday. I mean, let's keep our fingers crossed that there's an exciting race, but we'll probably get a race that'll end under caution and one of those jobs. But hopefully we'll have a good race, because then next week it's on to the battle of Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott. Where is that again? Indianapolis, or where is that?
Charlotte.
Oh, Charlotte, the Charlotte race. Okay. So like it really matters. It's a road course race. It's Kyle Larson. It's Chase Elliott. We know that. All right, guys. So again, you got everything set up at racereviewonline.net, Eric?
Yep. Everything's there. We'll have the burning questions out on Friday, and it's all NASCAR ahead, though. The final 6 races left. So, yep.
And CJ?
Probably back.
6 races to go. We'll have fantasy previews for trucks and Xfinity and Cup all up on rotowire.com. And then sometime on Monday, we'll have the NASCAR barometer recapping Sunday's race. And hopefully, like you said, hopefully we got a good one. Fingers crossed, because we know it's going to be down to 2 drivers the following week at the Roval. Probably.
And again, don't forget, to go to rotowire.com/prime SN, and you could check out our special where you get a free 10 days subscription at rotowire.com. So CJ, appreciate it as always. Likewise, Eric, hopefully we'll be reunited again next week for one more race in the round of 12 as we eliminate 4 more drivers after next week's race. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.